did you see, so you walked over, well, actually, let me, sorry, let me back up. Right on my podium. I'm just doing a circle of the courtroom. Now, are you aware that there's basically surveillance cameras inside Otto Miller Hall?
Yes.
'82 and '83 are marked.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked, States Exhibit 82 and 83. These are photographs. Can you take a look at them and get your bearings and see if you can tell what they show?
It's me at the bottom of the steps in the first one, going towards John and that guy, and that's when I'm looking left and right, going, where's the gun?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I already have it, I put it in the office, or I got rid of it. As I walk up towards him, it doesn't show you in this part, but he had a knife for the, I think a handgun.
Okay, I think we're going to stop at that point. We'll put the pictures up. Is the second picture, though, the one that's marked, could you tell me the number on it, the bottom picture?
82 or?
Number 82.
82.
Shows John and the man and you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? Offer 81 and 82. Or sorry, 82 and 83. My mistake.
Oh, no objection.
You're admitted.
Okay, Mr. Sarah. Is that you walking right next to the stairs?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
And then right here, is that John and Mr. Ybarra?
Yes.
And it looks like they're in a seated position,
Mhm.
and John has his arms around him. Is that what you saw?
Yes. His arms around him, holding on to his wrists or his arms.
And the shotgun shells in this area?
Correct.
Okay, and that's, for the record, indicating right in front of the two of them. Now, what does this one show? This is you up next to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And was there anybody else in that lobby area that you recall?
At that moment, no.
Okay. But upstairs, the rooms were full?
Yes.
Okay. And the lab that you were in, can you tell us a little bit about that? You said it's for working on projects and that sort of thing. I'm trying to get a sense of how many kids were in that building. Is that a busy time of day for that type of work?
That time of the quarter, yes. So there was probably 15 to 20 individuals just in that room.
Okay. And there's a lot of rooms in Otto Miller?
Yes.
That are used for that sort of thing?
Yes.
So I think you said you walked over or ran over
Mhm.
to them, and what happened then?
As I said, I was like, where's the shotgun? Because I didn't see the shotgun. He said, I got rid of it. He had a gun or a knife on the ground directly in front of them. So I kicked that away. You can see that now in the middle of the carpet area.
Okay, so you kicked that away.
And then I knelt down onto him and basically,
This
yeah.
item, okay. Where was that when you saw it first?
It was directly in front of him on the floor.
Okay. And it looked to be a gun or a knife, you're not sure?
Yeah, I was kind of moving a little fast at that point.
Understood. So you kicked it away and then you knelt down?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
what
put
did you-
my knees onto his legs and started patting them down because didn't know if he had anything else. So patted him down. He had a knife on him. Pulled the knife out. Pulled a bunch of shotgun shells out of his pockets.
And what made you think to do that?
I've probably seen it on TV, but kind of.
What kind of pockets were they?
He had a hoodie, I believe, with just pockets on the sides, and the front pockets of the hoodies had a bunch of shotgun shells. So I pulled the rest of those out.
Okay.
I believe he had the knife in his belt. Took that away. John still has his arms around him, holding him there, while I had my knees on his legs, doing that.
Let me ask you this. At that time, were you aware whether there might be a second shooter, or were you even thinking about that?
No, I was kind of worried about John and what was happening right in front of me.
Right, okay. So were you mainly trying to make sure that the guy didn't leave?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't want him to get up and do anything else.
Okay. So you emptied the pockets of the shotgun shells and you saw the knife on his belt, you said, right? And what happened then?
Took that away, set it on the table or on the ground next to me.
How did you hold him down?
Once again, John was behind him, as you can see, kneeling down behind him with his arms around him. He was on the ground, more in a seated position, with his legs in front of him. I put my one knee into basically his middle of his thighs to like push him down. He's not getting up if I'm kneeling on him.
Okay.
And basically, after I patted him down, I just put my hands on his shoulders and sat there for a minute.
Did he say anything when you pulled the knife away from him?
He said, you should let me have kept my knife so I can slit my own throat.
And did you say anything to that?
I told him to stop being a pussy.
Did he have any reaction to that?
No.
Was he resisting at all at this point?
A little bit, but not very much.
Okay. Can you describe, if you can, what his demeanor appeared to be? How did his face look, that sort of thing?
He was looking down. John was holding him. He was basically looking down into his own chest because I'm kneeling on top of him. John's holding him from behind. I have my hands on his shoulders. He's basically facing downwards. He's not looking at anyone.
When you made that remark, did that have any effect on him?
No.
Did you ever hear him say anything else?
No.
And how was John doing at this point?
He was pretty stressed. He was pretty pale. Like I said, prior to that, I really didn't know John. But he was like as white as a sheet of paper. Pretty stressed out. I kind of looked at him and I was like, hey, maybe we'll get out of finals. And he didn't really laugh at that. That's what I'm saying.
So what did you say anything to John?
I asked him, do you have a phone? And he said, yes, it's in my pocket. So I had to lean over to him and get his phone out of his pocket and called 911. Then basically we were there for a moment or two, and one of the kids from the physics department came out, basically ran past us, and I told him, I was like, go stand on the corner, and when you see the cops or the ambulances, tell them to come in here.
Okay.
He ran out the door. A couple minutes later, some cops showed up.
Okay. And they took him over from you?
Yeah.
Now, do you remember the knife, if it was encased in anything? Was it in a sheath or?
I believe so.
Okay. And did you notice whether whether Mr. Ybarra appeared to have been showing the effects of pepper spray?
Well, he didn't have his eyes open from what I could tell. He was looking down and he wasn't talking and he was drooling and looked like he'd been pepper sprayed, smelled like he'd been pepper sprayed.
I got just a moment. Did you notice any other apparent victims of the shooting?
I could hear a woman yelling in the background. What sounded as she'd been injured or shot.
Okay. And could you hear what she was saying?
She was yelling. I don't exactly remember what she was saying or anything, but she was definitely in pain.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else.
Cross-examination.
Just one clarification, Mr. Sarah. Thank you for coming in this morning. You were talking about your observations in regards to the pepper spray that had been used. Do you recall telling me in a previous interview that it also looked like the person that you were holding down was in pain?
Yeah.
No further questions. Thank you.
Anything else from the state?
Was that from the pepper spray? in your
He was in
mouth?
physical pain from being pepper sprayed.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sarah. You're open.
Thank you.
And state call Sarah Williams.
Please, you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Please see the truth.
Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Can you state your full name for the jury?
Sarah Williams.
Can you spell it for the court reporter?
SarahWilliams.
How old are you, Sarah?
I'm 22.
Where do you live?
I live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Who do you live with?
I live with my mom,
What's your mom's name?
Amy Williams.
Did you grow up in Arizona?
I did.
Did you go to school in Seattle?
I did.
Tell us about when you went to school in Seattle.
I think I moved up here to go to school in September of 2013.
And where did you go to school?
Seattle Pacific University.
So what, was you a freshman when you started there or a transfer student?
I was a transfer student.
Did you live on campus?
I did.
Do you have family in the area?
I do.
Who do you know in the area?
My aunt and uncle, Ryan and Vickery Williams.
Ryan and Vickery? But you lived in a dorm on campus or in an apartment?
I lived in an apartment.
What were you studying when you were at SPU?
Sociology.
Are you in school now
Yes.
in Arizona?
I do online school through another university.
Do you remember having classes in Otto Miller Hall when you went to Seattle Pacific University?
Yes.
Which classes did you have there?
I had race and ethnicity studies and math class.
So do you remember the day you were shot?
Yes.
Were you in Otto Miller Hall that day?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
In the morning, I had my race and ethnicity course, and then race and ethnicity. And then in the afternoon, I had my math course.
Tell us about what happened that day.
I was studying for my finals, so I was in the library most of the day. And then I went to Otto Miller to go to my math class and took a test.
Do you remember what time your math class was?
I think it was around 2 or 2:30.
Did you take your test?
I did.
And what happened after you took your test?
I finished it early, so I left class early, and I left the class and walked downstairs to leave the building.
So your classroom is on the second floor?
Yes.
And when you headed downstairs, are there more than one way to get downstairs in Otto Miller Hall?
Yes, there's a way to go in the back of the building, and then there's a way to go in the front main lobby of the building.
That's the front staircase that leads to the lobby. Which way did you go?
I went to the front main staircase.
Tell the jury what happened when you went down the stairs.
As I was going down the stairs, I saw someone to my left sitting at a table and another man standing next to him. And then when I got to the end of the stairs, I realized that person had a gun, and he was pointing it at the boy sitting down at the table.
So when did you first notice the boy at the table and the person with the gun?
Probably in my peripherals in the middle of the staircase.
The boy that was sitting at the table, did you know him?
No.
And in that moment of seeing that, you said you saw him pointing a man pointing a gun at the boy?
Yes.
Can you describe what that looked like, what the gun looked like, or what you saw in that moment?
It was a long rifle type gun.
Do you know anything about guns?
No.
So it was long.
Yeah.
Do you remember the color or anything like that?
I think it was like woodish gun.
How was he holding it? What made you think he was pointing it at the boy at the table?
He had his arms kind of outstretched, and it was pointed kind of angled down towards the boy sitting.
The man with the gun, where was he looking at when you saw that? Was he looking at that boy or somewhere else?
I don't recall.
What did you do or what happened next?
When I got to the end of the stairs, I went to turn to leave towards the door, and I froze where I was standing.
You froze?
Yeah.
Why did you freeze?
I didn't really know what was happening, and I was kind of confused, I guess.
When you froze, what are you looking at? What are you seeing now?
I was looking at the same scene, him holding the gun and the boy sitting.
What happened next?
He turned, the shooter turned towards me, pointed the gun at me, and fired it.
Did you feel it when he fired it? Did it hit you?
Yeah, it hit me in the right side of my chest.
What did it feel like?
It felt really hot and like a kind of like a surge of energy just pushed my body backwards.
What were you thinking in that moment?
At that moment, I still didn't fully realize what had happened, so I was kind of confused still. And I noticed that I couldn't feel my right arm and I couldn't move it, and then I felt that my shirt was wet and I was covered in blood at that point.
I want to go back to when you froze and then the man turned and looked at you. Do you remember did he say anything to you?
No.
Did you hear him talking before that to the boy at the table or to anybody else?
No.
Had you heard any noises outside before you went down the stairs?
No.
What was the man's demeanor? What did his face look like? Do you remember when he's pointing the gun at you?
He looked just regular. He looked a little frightened, maybe a little worried.
What do you mean by he looks worried? He looked frightened?
Just his facial expression wasn't very distinct. He looked more like worried or kind of scared, just very unassuming, I guess.
So when he's got the gun at you but he looks a little worried or scared, were you scared at that time, or what's going through your head?
I was more so confused because he wasn't I didn't see him threatening, even though he did have a gun, so I didn't really know what was happening or what the situation was.
Did you laugh at him or smile or anything?
No.
Did you run away at that point, though?
No.
How long do you think it was that moment when you're freezing before you were shot?
Maybe like 30 seconds.
And in that period of time, did you or him or he or anybody else say anything that you recall?
No.
Did you see what happened to the boy at the table after you were shot?
I think he got up and ran down the hallway directly behind him.
Do you know if there was anybody else in the room when you walked downstairs that you remember?
I think there was another boy in a chair kind of next to the table, like further down.
When you're standing there and you can't feel your arm, did you see what the shooter did? What did you do?
I kind of backed up and went behind the staircase And I got my phone out of my pocket and tried to call for help, but I couldn't work my phone because I was shaking too hard.
So you told it, was it in your, I'm sorry, did you say it was in your jacket
It
or
was
your
in
backpack?
my left pocket.
But you couldn't dial it?
Oh,
Do you remember why you went behind the stairs, or
no.
so what happened after you got back there?
I saw a girl come out of the hallway directly in front of me, and she yelled and asked if I needed help, and I said yes. And I kind of walked to meet her in the middle, and I don't think I could make it all the way, so she helped me. And then after that, I don't fully remember what happened, but I was on the floor at that point, and she had my phone. I was calling for help.
Did you know that girl before that day?
No.
Do you know her name now?
Yes.
And what's her name?
Hannah Judd.
Okay. So did you actually walked with her part way, is that right?
I think so, yeah.
And then you fell on the floor?
Yes.
Was there anybody else with you that you remember, or was it just you and Hannah?
I think there was a boy. I don't remember speaking to him, but he was near my feet in the hallway.
And so what, did you and Hannah talk while you were there?
Yeah.
What did you guys talk about?
She asked me my name. She asked me if I wanted her to pray for me. I told her to call my Aunt Vickery and my mother, and yeah.
What were you feeling at that time, Sarah?
At that moment, I was still kind of panicked. I was having trouble breathing, and I was in a lot of pain.
Did she call your Aunt Vickery and your
She
mom?
did, yeah.
Did you talk to them?
I spoke to my mom. I did not speak to my Aunt Vickery.
So she's doing this off your phone, is that right?
Yes.
What did you say to your mom?
I believe Hannah told her what happened, and then she handed the phone to me, and I kind of just told my mom, that I was fine, and I just told her that I loved her and everything. Yeah.
You told your mom you were fine? Okay. Tell us about what happened next. You guys are sitting there in the hallway. What happens after that?
I remember police officers or SWAT team people running down the hallway. They were jumping over me. And then a little bit after that, I think it was either a firefighter or the paramedics got to me. The first one I remember was a man who asked me once again if I was okay, or if I could breathe and stuff like that.
Did somebody help you? Did medics come and help you at some point?
Yes.
Were you awake that whole time?
Yes.
Did they take you to the hospital?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
I remember getting in the ambulance, but they put me to sleep in the ambulance, so I don't remember anything after that.
So what's the next thing you remember then?
When I was in the hallway, they moved me onto a sling and carried me out, and then put me in the ambulance, and then I woke up in Harborview. I don't know how many hours later, but
Do you know, did you have surgery at Harborview?
yes.
I assume you don't remember any of that.
No.
Did your mom arrive?
Yes.
How long were you in the hospital?
I think I was in the hospital for 8 days.
So state's exhibits A4 through A8 are marked.
Okay, that person went to Charlotte.
Yes.
So I'm going to hand you what's been marked for identification as states 84 through 86. Can you take a look at those photographs and Tell us if those depict the area that you've been describing, sort of the stairway and where you went behind the stairway.
So the first one is the second floor. So I walked down that. This is the stairway. That is the stairway. Okay.
And those fairly and accurately depict how it looked that day.
Mhm.
You're in the state moves to admit 84 through 86.
No objection.
They're admitted.
I'm going to show them to the jury on this screen and have you describe what we're looking at. Looking at States 84, I think you said that's the upstairs landing that you walked down, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and States 85, is that what you had seen coming down into the lobby?
Yes.
So, where the man was standing when you got to the bottom? Can you see that in this picture, or is he a little farther away?
He's a little further to the left of the screen.
Between the time that he was pointing the gun at the boy at the table and he turned it to you, did he move closer to you, or is he the same distance?
I think he was the same distance.
How far away was he from you when he shot you?
It wasn't more than like 10 feet.
I believe this is 86. Is that looking back at the stairway?
Yes.
And so describe the area that you went to right after you were shot.
I went to the area to the left of the staircase where the trash cans are.
Left if we're looking at it, so kind of where
Yep.
these trash cans are. Okay. And then you moved down the hall once Hannah called out to you?
Yes.
So we're now going to hand you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibit 87 and 88. You take a look at those stills. So are you aware that you're being shot was caught on surveillance cameras?
Yes.
Have you seen that?
No.
I showed you these stills earlier this morning, is that right?
Yes.
Is that you on that day?
Yes.
You're on the state offers 87 and 88.
No objection.
They're admitted.
Now we're looking at States Exhibit 87. At you about to head downstairs?
Yes.
And States Exhibit 88. Can you see yourself here?
Yes, I'm on the stairs.
Okay. And can you, in this picture, is the boy at the table? Is that him on this picture?
Yes.
And is that the man that shot you?
Yes.
Sir, can you tell us a little bit about your injuries at the hospital?
The shotgun shell went through my right chest and came out the back of my right arm, and it kind of pierced and went through an artery, my brachial artery right in my shoulder. So that's what caused all the bleeding, I guess. And then the pellets in the shotgun shell punctured my right lung and caused it to collapse.
And you said you indicated you had to have surgery, is that right?
Yes.
Do you know if they removed all the pellets from your body?
No.
They still have them?
Yep.
Okay, Sarah, it's my understanding that you do not want to talk about what you had to go through to recover from this. Is
That's
that right?
correct.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
And Ms. Flynn, do you have any of those photographs? And you're welcome.
Thank you.
The state calls Jonathan Van Shank.
I'm going to have you stand and stretch for 1 second.